And welcome back, everyone, to Radio Row for continuing coverage of Super Bowl 59 here at Front Office Sports at Baker Machado, joined by Mr. Gary V. Gary, good to have you here.
Thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, so what do you think so far about the Super Bowl and Radio Row so far? Pretty crazy, the energy here.
I would argue Radio Row is one of the reasons I go to Super Bowl. I love I grew up in sports card conventions and things of that nature, so I just love the energy, the running into people, the hustle of people that are on the come up, the legendary status of some of the Hall of Famers. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's day one for me. I got in late last night, and I'm happy to be here with you.
Are you going to go to the game?
Actually, this is the first time I'm not doing that.
Oh, interesting.
I'm actually leaving early on Sunday to go watch with my little boy, and so we're going to watch the game together, and so a little family affair.
Sometimes that's actually way more fun. On the couch,
Every time
in
it's
your
better.
sweatpants, close to the bathroom, don't have to worry about a line, any of that stuff. By the way, before we get to some of the other stuff that you have coming on the pipeline, Jets fan. I mean,
yes.
I know you say you have watched every single Jets play since you were a kid.
Since 1982.
I'm sure some people would
say, were born.
I'm sure some people would probably say, why would you torture yourself like that?
It's been rough, man. It's rough. Like,
what do you think's got to happen? And also, Aaron Glenn, it seems like a lot of Jets fans seem okay with this.
Yeah, I mean, he was a great Jet.
Yeah.
Back to how I root for the Jets, I've seen every play of his as a Jet. I also own a sports agency, VaynerSports, and we rep Aiden Hutchinson.
Yep.
And so I have a very good read of the coach and the man, and so we're incredibly fortunate to have him. I think he's a great choice. I was and am a very big Robert Saleh fan.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that was a little premature, what we did, but I'm very excited for Aaron Glenn, and I'm hopeful. Look, we have a lot of good talent. You know, the reality is that just have players.
Yep.
And so hopefully a culture reboot, a reshift, a new spring after a tough winter, and we'll see what we do here in free agency and the draft.
Yeah, you mentioned VaynerSports. Of course, you represent a lot of players. I was talking to Jerome Bettis earlier today, and it was all about branding, how he was able to get the Bus moniker to really stick. And it's got to be natural and organic, and it can't be forced.
Yep.
But talk about that with your own clients. Is that difficult to sort of thread that needle of branding, but it also has to feel real?
Sure, and just like Bus, sometimes it falls in your lap. We rep Sauce Gardner back to the Jets, and that's easy.
Yeah, that's very easy.
Buffalo Wild Wings, Sauce,
Done.
Other guys, it develops over time, but I do think Jerome's right. I think one of the big factors here is sometimes kids force it. Sometimes they fake it. They just want the money. And we do take a longer-term approach. But now with social, which has obviously been a big part of my career, there's a lot of strategy that goes into, how do you want to attack those channels, how to actually treat them as an engagement mechanism to get people to care, not just for vanity follows and likes. And then some guys just don't want it.
Yeah.
Some guys just don't want it. They just want to play football, be behind the scenes, raise their family, and call it a day. And I think one thing that really works for us is we don't force it either. Obviously, when a kid signs with VaynerSports, with me at the helm, a lot of times they think that I'm going to want them to be like me. Mm-hmm. But I don't.
You want them to be themselves.
Which is the ultimate thing that I am.
Right.
I am me. And whether that leads to having a big social media following or not, or being in marketing and business or not, that's irrelevant to me. I just want to reverse engineer who they are.
Well, even, you have to think NIL here for a second is a marketer's dream because, yes, you're adding more to the talent pool and you're getting these great kids in here, but it's, Gary, the Wild West in terms of...
I mean, my brother AJ is one of the leading sports agents in NIL. You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
He was very busy in November, December, and January with the portal. Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on this? I mean, now you have college football players making $10 million now in NIL money. You have Ohio State, a $20 million NIL budget to win the national championship.
Every team.
I mean, every team has to. But what's your thoughts on this, and where does this sort of go? Because nobody sort of knows the limits of where this goes.
I think if you like capitalism and business, then I think it's super fair.
Yeah.
Nobody stopped 20-year-old Mark Zuckerberg from becoming a trillionaire.
Right.
I think it's great. I would also say Ohio State and Michigan and Alabama and everybody else have made a lot of money for a long time without sharing any of the pot. So what do I think? I think it's great for the kids, and I think it will normalize and real and almost like gray rules will be. But right to your point, we're in full Wild Wild West now. Everyone's trying to figure it out. but I'm happy for the kids. I don't know what
Right.
else to tell you.
Look, deservingly so. They deserve this money.
Remember Lattimore,
Yes,
the running back?
yes.
That was the classic one.
Yep.
You know, like, I think it's great for the kids.
Right. And for them to cash in on this opportunity, for some of them that aren't going to even go to the pros, to cash in on all of this is really big for them.
100%. I think it's a huge deal. I'm very happy for them. And I think people that cry about it are stuck in the old days. We used to ride horses. We don't anymore.
No.
And
Yes.
I understand that we used to not pay college players.
Yep.
We used to not pay pro players a lot of money either.
Right.
People got mad at that in the
Right.
80s when that started to happen.
Yeah.
Like, so I think it's great. Why would you begrudge someone else's success?
Right.
I promise you that Ohio State and Alabama and Michigan are going to be okay.
Right. What other things you got working that you got cooking up over at VaynerMedia?
VaynerMedia's got the big Duracell
Yep.
and Tubi Super Bowl commercials.
Okay, that's
So
great.
That's big.
Yep.
We're excited about that. We got a good surprise on one of them. Look, we're building one of the biggest advertising agencies in the world. 2,500, almost 2,500 employees now globally. Huge presence in Europe and Asia and Latin America. Very proud of what we built there. VaynerSports has now solidified itself, and I would call it tier 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really gotten there. And then my Pokemon meets Marvel World, V-Friends, is big. I got a Topps trading card deal that comes out this summer.
Whoa, Gary.
So V-Friends Topps Chrome in every hobby shop in the country. So that's big. And, just working, trying to build things and, looking for angles and, really trying to pay attention.
Well, what's in the secret sauce for a good Super Bowl ad? Because, look, $8 million is how much a 30-second spot is going for these days. But it's always hard to make, from a marketer's perspective, to make it stick. How do you make a Super Bowl ad stick?
I think this is where the mistake is. I don't think the job of the Super Bowl is to stick because that's where people get into overpaying celebrities and trying to be funny.
Right.
I think the job of a Super Bowl ad is to make people buy the thing. So I'll assure you that when you see Tubi and Duracell, it is very obvious what we're trying to accomplish. And so I think the job of the Super Bowl spot is to build awareness that you can then trade against to create conversion. There's a lot of ways to do that. And sometimes it is to be silly and ridiculous. I think Tubi, ironically, did a great job last year or the year before where it looked like this, right?
Right.
That worked.
Yep.
And that made a lot of people know what Tubi was for the first time.
What you want it to stick.
So I think it's an awareness play or a conversion play if you're really thoughtful about it. And so my big thing is it depends on when your life cycle is. Let's actually use Duracell and Tubi. Tubi's still newer. We still need people to know it's a streaming service. Duracell, everyone knows. So we got to get them to understand why they want to buy it. And so there's different reasons for different brands to show up in the Super Bowl.
But what also you see these brands now giving promos, teases, all of this stuff. We just saw the Dunkin' ad, at the Grammys sort of teasing the Super Bowl ad. What's your thoughts on that? Because then it's clear these brands want to get the most bang for the buck if they're spending $8 million on this stuff.
Listen, I think doing a Super Bowl spot without spending a lot of money on social media support is insanity. Or doing something like what Dunkin's doing. I do think, early on, I think it was super important to, when we first started previewing Super Bowl ads, you would get the Today Show and YouTube, and you would get a lot more awareness. Now I actually think it's hurting them.
Yeah.
We didn't preview.
Yeah.
I tell my clients not to preview. There's been a bunch previewed, and I don't.
I feel like you already know the ads then, as a result, which takes away sort of the excitement of seeing and staying for the ads.
I actually think the Super Bowl should embargo.
I think so too.
I do.
I really do too.
I think we're thinking like business.
I think
like
we're
this,
thinking
like
like
real
capitalists
businessmen.
at the end of the day.
That's right.
Before we get you out of here, Gary, best. By the way, Dan Roberts, big fan of Gary V, our editor-in-chief. Gary, before we get you out of here, best Super Bowl ad ever. What is it?
Cindy Crawford, Pepsi, Diet Pepsi.
Yes, I remember
that was the
this
moment
one.
that Gary Vaynerchuk became a man.
I
went from a boy.
I
was a little boy before that Super Bowl spot.
Yes.
And after those Daisy Dukes, I became a man.
Turned you into who you are today.
A grown man.
I feel also
thought things I never thought before.
I also feel the Tabasco ad.
Oh my God.
Years ago, also.
By the way, the What's Up.
Yes, What's Up, the Bud Light. Yes, all of that stuff.
Ad.
Yes.
The the Larry Bird and Jordan ads.
Yes,
There's some really iconic ads.
Well, we're excited to see Tubi's
Thank you.
ad and all the other ones you're working on. Gary,
you, man.
always good to have you here from
Pleasure.
VaynerSports. And we got
Success.
more interviews with insiders and pretty cool guys like Gary coming up. Stay with us here on Front Office Sports.